Welcome to the Lost Vet podcast, where we are helping you get back to your passion and purpose. I'm your host, Dr. Melodie Chan, and in this episode of Destination People, Marr shares some practical tips on establishing boundaries if you are feeling like things in your world are spinning out of control. Okay, so the question I have for you, Rob, is you mentioned in the book an easy way in which you can help establish boundaries, and it's 4 words, essentially. Can you share what those are?
Yes, but, and no, but. So yeah, it's a simple formula, but I think it's a useful one to keep at the top of your mind.
So how would you put that into practice of using those words?
Well, I think lots of us, very much myself included, feel that we've got to be obliging and helpful. And I think it's something we're taught as children, like you've got to be polite, you've got to respect other people. It's not bad things, of course, but I think what ends up happening is we end up acquiescing to quite a lot of things that people want of us in the attempt or the effort to please people or to keep in good favor or to not upset people. I think generally people have a fear of confrontation. And, even if you're the most confident person in the world, the idea about saying no to somebody when they've made a direct request can be difficult. And I think we end up just saying yes in isolation, or we end up feeling like if we say no, we've hurt their feelings. So I think that the nuance of adding but gives you it's like creating a second path that you can go down and softening the yes or softening the no. So if you ask for some help with something, you can say, yeah, I'd love to help. And you can say the positive thing you want to say, but then you can explain your reality, right? So then you can introduce, well, I'm struggling with a bit of work today. I'm on a deadline. I've got to meet this client. I've got to get out and do these particular jobs. So yes, I would love to help you, but I have to do these other things first. Is it okay if we meet tomorrow? Is it okay if we have a chat later? So in a way, it softens the yes even. So that if you are agreeing, you're agreeing on your terms. Again, the no, you can refuse, but it means that you're not refusing in an aggressive, overly assertive way, and it allows you to redirect that person perhaps to someone that might be more qualified. Another person might be able to help them in a more appropriate way. So it could be, no, I can't help you, but John over there has got nothing to do at the moment. Maybe you could go and speak to John and he'll give you a hand.
How do you make it feel like you're not making an excuse? Because I think that, that was immediately for me the yes, but, or no, but the caveat. And so as somebody who also just deeply rooted has trouble saying no or doesn't like confrontation, it's like this knot in your stomach when you're like, oh God, I've got to think about how I'm going to redirect this.
Yeah. So, okay, so you think that potentially could sound like an excuse, like you're just kind of fobbing them off, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. I think, we talk a lot about people management stuff, right, and leadership things, and I think at the heart of all of this is kindness, right? And even we talked yesterday. I was talking to a client about performance managing someone, tricky situation that they're going through. I said, look, fundamentally, the value that you most want to show is kindness, right? And I think if people can see from your general demeanor, your engagement, your authenticity, like if you're just speaking the truth, you're saying, look, I would love to help you. But all you're doing is you're just bringing to the fore things which are true anyway. I think if you're making it up, that's going to come across anyway. If you're kind of going, oh, yeah, I'd love to help you, but I've got, X to do, and sorry, darling, I'm just too busy. I think that does come across as BS, right? But I think if you're clearly just telling them the truth and you're being honest about that and you're softening it in a way that they can appreciate that you are busy, just like they are, I think that comes across well. I think in general, we often, we're almost hiding the truth from people, like, how are things? Oh, I'm great. How, and it's like, well, maybe things aren't great. Maybe things are difficult. Maybe you're struggling or overwhelmed or whatever. And I think if you feel confident or comfortable to share the truth with another person. It might do you a couple of other favors, which I hadn't thought about till you asked me that question. It might do you the favor of saying, oh, so you sound like you're really overwhelmed at the moment. And you go, actually, yeah, I'm up to here with all the different jobs I have to do today. And by even just sharing that might give them an opportunity to offer to help you rather than ask something from you as well. So I think the kindness piece is important, but also you're giving people an opportunity to share some of your difficulties if you tell them what's going on.
And I like that idea of just, again, if your intentions are clear, your intentions are kind, and just being honest, a lot of times it'll be met in that same way.
It made me think of something which came up the other day, and I think fundamentally people like helping people. There are obviously exceptions, but I think mostly it feels good when we can lend a hand or help someone out with a difficulty or whatever. And in some ways, you could flip this and actually say, do you know what? You trying to hold on to everything, you trying to do everything, say yes to everyone. In a way, you're depriving people of an opportunity to feel good as well by helping out a friend, helping out a colleague, helping out someone that needs help. So it's not just about an act of self-care in a way. It's also that kind of letting people in and share, problem shared's a problem halved, as the saying goes. It's an opportunity to divest that out to a couple of other people that might be really thrilled to help you, and they're only asking because you always say yes, and it was an easy option for them.
Flipping that around as the manager or the team lead who's maybe asking somebody to do something, and maybe you're a person that people have never said no to, or you react when it feels like someone's trying to negotiate what you've just asked them to do. Because, I feel like I get in those situations. If I'm really busy and I'm overwhelmed and I'm thinking, okay, no, I need to delegate these things that will help me. And maybe for me, I'm coming at it from a place where I'm not open and accepting. I also know some personalities that they're very scripted too, and this is the plan and this is how they'll roll it out. And it's jarring for some of them if somebody says no, but, or even the yes, but, because it's kind of just putting a little bit of a damper into, no, this was my plan. This is what I need done. Why are you trying to make it different? Any sort of words of sage advice or coaching for sort of the person who's doing the asking of a new task or a new responsibility of another person?
Yeah, that's right. I knew talking to you, you'd find an angle that I hadn't thought about, and I knew you'd come back and you'd give me something challenging to think about. So that's a really great question. So, I think when I think about that, it's often what people need help doing is if they are stuck a little bit, they're feeling overwhelmed, is they need help prioritizing, right? So if you're a leader, you have an expectation, and to your point, Melodie, you're used to people saying yes and getting your way. I think there's an element to like, right, well, what is it that you're working on? Walk me through it and let me help you prioritize it from my perspective. Let me help you prioritize it from a business perspective. Because it could be that they could be taking a linear approach to the set of work they've got to do. Well, I got asked to do this, then I got asked to do that, then I got asked to do the other thing. And they're almost kind of going, well, I've got to do those 5 things first before I get to your 6th thing, right? And it could be that you, as the leader, could just say, well, actually, do you know what? Thank you for sharing that with me. Do you know something? 2, 3, and 4, they can definitely wait till tomorrow. What I actually really need help with is I need the help with this thing now, but I'm really happy to wait for the other things. So I think some of this is perhaps giving the opportunity to discuss priorities, to discuss perceptions about it. I think as well, there's another component part, which is when you're saying yes to something, you're obviously saying no to something else, right? So this kind of affirmative, yes, I'll help you with that, then that means something else is not going to happen. So I think there's dual responsibility here. You asked the question from the perspective of the asker, right? But then there's also the perspective of the askee, the person that's being asked. Well, we need to get more comfortable discussing what's on our agenda and being open to reprioritizing as well. Like not getting too attached to the task, not getting too attached to the work. I think it's a general thing that we address in the book and we talk about a lot with our clients. When you make the work the most important thing, then that ends up leading everything. It's like, did we get the work done? How much work have you got on? And the work feels like, because work just, you finish the work, you get more work. So it never goes away. Whereas if we can start to think more about the person, how are you managing it? How are you organizing it? Thinking about perhaps the behaviors that are delivering the work, that might make this conversation a bit easier. So I think it's a really great question. There's a dual responsibility. There's the responsibility of the asker to ask for more information, help reprioritize, help reorder and reassess if you've got the authority to do so. And there's also a responsibility on the askee, right? The person has to say, this is what's on my plate, and also to not be so attached to the work that they can't reshuffle the deck so that they can reorganize and help their colleague.
So for those of you that are feeling like your world is spinning out of control, the 4 magic words you can add to your arsenal are yes, but, and no, but. And to help you with that, some of the points that we covered in this conversation was just a reminder that yes, but, or no, but, the but part softens how you're delivering that information, especially if you're averse to confrontation. But I think keeping in mind, as Rob said, that leading with kindness and leading with your authentic self and being truthful about just where you are right now with the person who's doing the ask, you'd be surprised at how you will also be met with kindness in return, and sharing where you're at and your perhaps overwhelmedness, if that's a word, then it opens the doors to another great conversation with the person asking. And I think, again, taking that perspective, if you're the person asking someone else to do something, trying to keep in mind there's always other things going on as well. And if they're hesitating or you notice they're uncomfortable, there may be something else to uncover from there. So, again, asking and figuring out, are there other priorities that you can maybe help them with their agenda? Then that's another great place as a leader or coach to help your people. So remembering to keep the most important thing important. So the people and their behavior is really what you're striving for, and not necessarily being so fixated on the task at hand or the work. Hopefully that was helpful, and see you next time.